FedNow will be launching in the next few days, but it's not the only fast payment system out there. Central banks around the world have been secretly rolling out fast payment systems for years, and they've been doing so with the help of the World Bank and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. If that wasn't scary enough, there's almost no public information about this initiative, which goes by the name of Project FASTT, with 2 T's. Of course, that didn't stop Team Coin Bureau from going down the rabbit hole. So, in this video, you're going to hear everything about the plan to convert all payment systems into fast payment systems and convert all fast payment systems into central bank digital currencies. Stay tuned. Let's start with a bit of background. The World Bank is an international organization that's closely aligned with US interests. This makes sense considering that the institution was established during World War II, specifically at the Bretton Woods Conference, which also established the US dollar as the world's reserve currency. Similarly to the International Monetary Fund, or IMF, the World Bank's purpose is to issue loans to developing countries. Also, like IMF loans, World Bank loans come with lots of conditions. Recently, these conditions have focused on ensuring the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, are met. If you watched our recent video about the UN's digitization report, you'll know that the SDGs appear to be the origin of dystopian ideas like digital IDs, CBDCs, and smart cities. The SDGs are also the origin of the 2030 date you keep seeing everywhere. Every country must meet the UN's SDGs by 2030. Our research suggests that the SDGs are being enforced by international organizations that represent the private sector and the public sector. On the private sector side, you have organizations like the World Economic Forum, or WEF, whose ESG investment criteria are explicitly based on the UN's SDGs. On the public sector side, meanwhile, you have organizations like the World Bank, which have been issuing loans to countries with SDG-type conditions attached. Many of these loans have apparently focused on restricting the usage of fossil fuels, which has made it difficult for some countries to get out of poverty. From what we can tell, the incentive for the private sector is greater profits, at least in theory. For the public sector, the incentive is control, mainly geopolitical control. Now, obviously, there's lots of overlap between these groups. Global governments are often lobbied by international corporations. And nowhere is this overlap more apparent than the relationship between the World Bank and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. If you watched our video about digital IDs, you'll know that the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has been working closely with the World Bank to roll out a digital ID. As it so happens, the Gates Foundation has also been working closely with the World Bank to roll out fast payment systems. We discovered this when doing research for our video about FedNow. The World Bank has a page that tracks fast payment system development, and this is what it says. Quote, "Fast payments, also known as instant, real-time, immediate, rapid, make funds immediately available to beneficiaries and can be used around the clock on a 24/7 basis. They are supported by central infrastructures which enable banks and non-banks to connect and to build additional overlay services for end users. The Payment Systems Development Group of the World Bank has assisted more than 120 countries in modernizing their payment systems over the years and, more recently, has played a leading role in global research and technical assistance to countries on fast payment systems. Project FAST is a new milestone in this critical work, sponsored by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation." End quote. Now, if you saw that video we made about FedNow, you'll know that it seems to be a precursor to a full-blown central bank digital currency, or CBDC, a digital currency that gives the government and central bank total control over your transactions. This got us wondering if this is true of all fast payment systems. But we quickly encountered a problem. Besides the paragraph I just quoted, there is literally no information about Project FAST anywhere on the internet. The link provided in the paragraph redirects to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation's website, which contains no mention of Project FAST. Searching for the words Project FAST returns just a dozen results, all of which lead to nowhere. Searching for the full acronym, frictionless, affordable, safe, timely transactions, yields just 3 results, all of which come from a central banking publication that mentioned Project FAST in a recent report. Not only that, but there's almost no information about the World Bank's Payment Systems Development Group, or PSDG. The link provided in the World Bank's paragraph redirects to a page which details this group's initiatives and reports, but provides next to no information about its structure or funding. So, that gave us only one option, and that was to go digging through as many related documents as possible to get the answers to our growing list of concerning questions. And boy, did we find some concerning answers. Let's start with the PSDG. The earliest document we could find about the PSDG dates back to November 2007, not long before the global financial crisis. The document in question is a report about measuring the development of payment systems around the world. The key theme was going cashless. In a program update from 2010, the PSDG said the following, quote, "Central banks and all stakeholders in the retail arena must work together in a clear strategy to promote the intensive use of retail electronic payment instruments and reduce the importance of checks." For context, stakeholder is a word that's often associated with the World Economic Forum. It's code for the world's most powerful individuals and institutions. Case in point, WEF founder and chairman Klaus Schwab said in a recent interview that he created the WEF so that stakeholders could meet. Check the guest list. Now, another interesting thing in that program update is a graph that the PSDG has used in other reports. It shows the rate of non-cash transactions by region. Naturally, the authors take issue with the fact that developing countries aren't using electronic payment systems as much as the European Union. What the authors fail to mention is that European citizens also love cash and want to keep using it. This was revealed in a survey conducted by the European Central Bank as part of its digital euro research. You can learn more about that using the link in the description. I digress. Now, in case it wasn't clear enough, the PSDG seems to be focused on getting everyone off cash as quickly as possible. This would explain why it's been working so closely with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation on digital ID for so long. Digital ID is required for digital payment systems to work. Here is where things get interesting. You'll recall that the one paragraph about Project FAST notes that the PSDG has, quote, played a leading role in global research and technical assistance to countries on fast payment systems. Well, it appears that the PSDG only has one publication about fast payments. By contrast, the PSDG has half a dozen publications about CBDCs, and some of these were written with the help of the Bank for International Settlements, or BIS. For reference, the BIS is the Bank for Central Banks, and it's been helping central banks around the world coordinate their CBDC development. In one of these reports, the PSDG and BIS state that CBDCs may not be necessary because, quote, combining different payment innovations, such as open application programming interfaces, APIs, fast payment services, contactless chips, and QR codes, could achieve many of the same goals. In other words, fast payment systems are functionally the same as CBDCs. This doesn't mean CBDCs won't be developed, however. In another report, the PSDG and BIS call for, quote, interoperability between CBDC and non-CBDC systems, such as fast payment systems, RTGS systems, or other systems. RTGS stands for real-time gross settlement, by the way, and if your brain is starting to melt with all the initialisms in this video, then my apologies. You're not alone. Anyway, put simply, it appears that fast payment systems and CBDCs will be developed side by side, and they will also be interoperable. The report written by the PSDG and BIS suggests that this interoperability will be both domestic and international, setting the stage for a global CBDC system as envisioned by the BIS. More about that in the description. Moving on. Now, when it comes to Project FAST, the project appears to have begun in January 2021. This is when the World Bank first announced that it would be putting together a fast payments toolkit to, quote, inform policy and implementation choices for fast payment systems around the world. The authors of the announcement note that, quote, the toolkit is based on desk research and consultations with more than 65 stakeholders around the world, including regulators, standard-setting bodies, operators, system participants, and industry bodies. Remember what stakeholders means. Oddly enough, the toolkit in question appears to be Project FAST itself, meaning that the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has been a key, if not the key player in this initiative. The first report on the Project FAST website dates to September 2021, which is also when the page was first archived. Most of these reports aren't that interesting or relevant, but there are a few which are. The report about messaging standards, the report about interoperability, and the report about cross-border payments. When you put the three together, what you get is more evidence of an emergent global CBDC system. First, the messaging standards. Quote, ISO 20022 is the most standardized message with predefined structure, syntax, and format, followed by ISO 8583 and proprietary messages. If you watched our aforementioned video about FedNow, you'll know that it uses the ISO 20022 messaging standard. You'll also know that some cryptocurrencies are also compliant with the ISO 20022 messaging standard, meaning they are theoretically interoperable with fast payment systems and CBDCs. This is either bullish or bearish, depending on who you ask. The list of cryptos includes XRP, XLM, and Algo. What you may not know is that 40 countries have a form of fast payment system already, and almost all of them are compliant with the ISO 20022 standard. The World Bank's datasheet notes that most fast payment systems were introduced in 2017 and 2018, presumably because of cryptocurrency. Next, the interoperability. Quote, a CBDC network and a fast payments network do not necessarily have to compete. One potential option in this space would be using a CBDC as a settlement currency for a fast payment system. This may be particularly attractive in a cross-border context where settlement risk is high today due to slow and inefficient processes for cross-border payments. FYI, using a CBDC as a settlement currency seems to be the direction that the Fed is headed with FedNow. The FedNow that's scheduled to be released later this month is just the first iteration of many more to come. It's possible, if not likely, that other fast payment systems already have similar roadmaps. And finally, cross-border payments. Quote, stakeholders developing a cross-border fast payment system, FPS, should account for the introduction and expansion of CBDC to determine the feasibility of including CBDC in a cross-border FPS arrangement. This includes the development of flexible interfaces as part of a cross-border FPS arrangement that would allow for a future linkage with a CBDC network. In sum then, fast payment systems will eventually become CBDCs, and all CBDCs will integrate globally. Then again, this is mostly circumstantial evidence. What we need is a smoking gun, something that proves that fast payment systems will become CBDCs and converge to create a global CBDC system. And, funnily enough, the World Bank has put the smoking gun front and center on the Project FAST website. The smoking gun in question can be found in a report that the report page notes as the, quote, main report. It was published in September 2021 and contains a section about the future of fast payment systems. Here are some of the highlights. Quote, Crypto assets appear to be on the rise globally, including some that certain individuals and firms consider to be a medium of exchange. If these crypto assets with payment capabilities gain more mainstream acceptance, a question will arise as to whether or how they shall or could become interoperable with existing payment systems, including fast payments. Now, this is significant, and not just for the cryptos that are already interoperable with the ISO 20022 standard. In theory, central banks could replace stablecoins with fast payment systems and CBDCs. In practice, this would be a very bad outcome because it means all crypto prices would be controlled. And that is why we need to build a decentralized stablecoin that can't be controlled ASAP. Another highlight. Quote, recently, the industry has been giving more thought to how programmability could be integrated with fast payments. For example, some players in the industry believe that connecting to existing distributed ledgers would facilitate programmable fast payments. This is significant because it suggests that existing payment systems can be upgraded to become programmable. For those unfamiliar, programmability makes it possible for the central banks and governments to control your payments, what you can buy, when you can buy it, etc., etc. And then the smoking gun itself. Quote, as central banks continue to explore the development of central bank digital currencies, the interplay between CBDCs and fast payments is likely to receive further attention. A CBDC network and fast payments do not necessarily have to compete. One potential option in this space would be using the fast payment system payment rails for CBDCs. In other words, put the CBDCs onto the fast payment systems that already exist. Now, some would say that this is the most logical option and therefore the one that most central banks will take. But wait, there's more. Quote, the CPMI report, Enhancing Cross-Border Payments, Building Blocks of a Global Roadmap, recognizes that interlinking retail payment systems, including FPSs, and wholesale payment systems, such as RTGS systems, allows payment service providers to interact directly through the linked infrastructure and reduces their reliance on traditional correspondent banking. Translation. Combine the individual and institutional electronic payment systems together. But why stop there? Why not tokenize every asset in existence and put it on this system so that every single transaction and asset in the economy can be totally controlled? Well, Project FAST is one step ahead of you. Quote, integration of FPSs into other financial market infrastructures has furthered the usage of fast payments. For example, investments in capital markets and payments for future transactions are opening the gates for integration for all markets. Translation: use fast payment systems for assets, not just payments. You will own nothing and be happy because everything you own will be on a network controlled by the central bank where the government can turn off your ownership at any time. Brought to you, as so often, by Bill Gates. I honestly have no idea how he finds the time. Now, this raises the question of what this global fast payment system CBDC hybrid is going to look like. One of the best answers we could find came from Michael Steinbach, CEO of Equens Worldline, a Dutch card payments company. He was interviewed about, quote, global fast payments back in 2017. Michael explained that implementing fast payments is going to be an even bigger task than the implementation of the euro or the SEPA transfer system used in Europe. He said that banks have been having difficulty integrating with these systems and have outsourced this development as a result. On that note, it's believed the reason why Bill Gates is so involved in philanthropy is because it gives him access to companies that are on the cutting edge of technology, be it digital IDs, CBDCs, etc. This allows him to invest early on and make mad money by cashing out further down the line. Or so I've heard. Anyway, speculation aside, Michael revealed that the implementation of fast payment systems will vary between countries and banks, but the result will be the same: a radical change to how payments are processed. Michael predicts that all card payments will be replaced by instant payments, aka QR codes. As a fun fact, our research suggests that the reason why the elites are so obsessed with QR codes is because QR codes are the most compatible with fast payment systems and CBDCs. Cash and cards, not so much, hence why they will both be eliminated, be it by force, by inflation, or by human apathy. The most terrifying part of it all is that Michael acknowledged that creating a global instant payment system is going to be a big risk. However, he believes that it will also be a big opportunity. More evidence of the idea that the private sector is on board because of perceived future profits. However, as we mentioned in our video about these dystopian technologies, these perceived future profits assume that people will voluntarily adopt these technologies. Reports by institutions in both the public and private sectors suggest that the adoption of things like CBDCs and digital IDs will be very low. Even if governments and central banks succeed in coercing people to adopt these technologies, they can't force everyone to use them on a day-to-day basis. The caveat with fast payments is that most people have no idea that when they sign up to use them, they're signing up for a CBDC in the future. That's why the only way to prevent fast payment systems and CBDCs from achieving mass adoption is through education and by pointing people to safer alternatives that can't be controlled. The fact that Project FAST tacitly recognizes crypto as a competitor to these systems suggests it is one alternative. But again, this assumes that the cryptocurrencies in question are truly decentralized. As I've mentioned many times before, most cryptocurrencies are not that decentralized, and we have yet to develop a truly decentralized stablecoin that can be a direct competitor to fast payment systems and CBDCs. Never mind all the hurdles to user adoption, like objectively bad user interfaces. That said, I'm confident that a truly decentralized stablecoin will come around before it's too late. Take a second to consider that Michael made all those comments way back in 2017, and we're only just starting to see fast payment systems and CBDCs get off the ground. Crypto has a head start and is much faster. All we need to do is keep up the pace, and we will win the race. And that's all for today's video. If you found it informative, smash that like button to help others find it. If you want to make sure you stay informed, subscribe to the channel and ping that notification bell. If you want to inform others, take a second to share this video with your relevant friends and family. If you're already hedging yourself against this hellish system by using crypto, make sure you're trading on safe crypto exchanges and storing your sats on the most secure wallets. The Coin Bureau deals page has got $40,000 of airdrop bonuses and the biggest discounts on the best hardware wallets. The link will be in the description for your convenience. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. From Klaus and from me, it's goodbye and good luck.